Tonight on Nova, dolphins, graceful, intelligent, playful.
Hello, Sissy.
But a look beneath the surface reveals some shocking truths about their society.
Head to head, these two males right here, head to head fight. Well, they have another side to them. They can be aggressive and nasty, just like we can.
Do dolphins have more in common with us than we'd like to think? A probing look into the private lives of dolphins.
Funding for Nova is provided by Johnson & Johnson, the signature recognized around the world for commitment to quality healthcare products for the entire family. And Lockheed, America's aerospace company, supporting math, science, and engineering education for national technology leadership. Major funding for Nova is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the financial support of viewers like you.
Almost every morning, a dolphin swims up to the beach at Monkey Maya in Western Australia.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Everyone knows who she is. The one with the scars on her back from a sunburn that nearly killed her a few years ago when she got stuck on a sandbar.
There's Holyfin.
Her name is Holyfin.
Dolphin is generally considered the matriarch of Monkey Maya. Very pregnant at the moment. Not sure of her age, but close to 30 years. She's a lovely old lady.
Holyfin's daughter, Nikki, is also a regular at the beach, along with her son, Rabble.
He's a little one. Hello, darling. Can you come on?
Between the two marker boys, I say my name, some people are...
Bottlenose dolphins have been visiting here for at least 30 years. And for just as long, people have been making the trek to this remote spot for a chance to commune with the world's friendliest wild animals. It's easy to understand why people come to Monkey Maya. But what's in it for the dolphins?
Just take it by the tail. Stick it in your mouth. One more?
A free meal is part of it.
How about you, Sam?
How are you going, Brian? Okay,
But the rangers who keep an eye on things limit the feed to a few pounds of fish per day. Just a small snack. And when it's over, the dolphins often stay at the beach and mingle with the crowd. It all seems so natural and friendly, it's easy to forget that these are wild animals.
Hello, Sissy.
Parents who wouldn't let their children near a strange dog have no fear of these 300-pound predators. And what other wild animal would ever get this close to a human? We can't help but wonder what goes on in their minds. They seem to crave social contact as much as we do. How much like us are they? How do they live their lives? Richard Connor and Rachel Smoker were thinking about these things back in 1981 when they were undergraduates at the University of California at Santa Cruz.
Well, we'd both been interested in dolphins for a long time. And a woman who had been to Australia, to Shark Bay, came to Santa Cruz and did a little song and dance and told us about the dolphins there and that there's nobody there studying them. And we both decided we had to go.
They spent that first summer watching dolphins from the beach, becoming familiar with the 8 or 10 regular visitors. But it wasn't until they borrowed a boat and went out into Shark Bay that they began to see the real potential of the place.
We went out there and we saw about 100 dolphins and photographed them. We saw dolphins that we didn't see again for 5 years. It was like 2 days in which everybody in the bay was in that area, so it was incredible.
That first day offshore was a revelation. The clear, quiet waters of Shark Bay would make it possible to study wild dolphins in a way that had never been done before. For many years, most of what we knew about dolphins had been learned from captive animals. Early on, it was found that the bottlenose variety has the biggest brain for its body size of any animal besides humans. Much of it seemed to be devoted to sound processing. They use a type of sonar called echolocation, and they produce an amazing variety of whistles, clicks, and pops. But other types of dolphins manage the same thing with much smaller brains. As performers in marine parks, the bottlenose have always impressed trainers with their ability to learn complicated routines. And in controlled studies, they've shown a remarkable range of mental powers. They learn quickly, have excellent memories, and can use what they know to solve new problems. But why do dolphins or any other animal need this kind of intelligence in the first place? Chimpanzees and a few other species also have large brains and clever minds. And human beings with their large brains have always wondered why.
Yes, anthropologists and biologists have been interested in the origins of intelligence since at least Darwin's time. And it's been difficult for us to figure out why some species have large brains and others don't. I mean, we know that human intelligence is a lot of its tool use, a lot of its language, and yet you have species like chimpanzees with very little tool use, no language, dolphins, elephants, very few. And so what do they have in common?
One thing they have in common is that they're all mammals. "55 million years ago, when the ape ancestor was living in the trees, another early mammal called Mesonyx ventured into the water to find food. Over time, its descendants grew more adapted to life in the sea. Bodies became streamlined, forelegs became flippers, and hind legs gradually disappeared. This was the ancestor of all whales and dolphins, an air-breathing mammal modified by evolution for life in the sea. Until recently, dolphins appeared to have little else in common with the other large-brained species. However, that changed when we began looking at how they live their lives in the wild. Sarasota Bay, on the Gulf Coast of Florida, offered the first good look at a community of wild bottlenose dolphins. Randy Wells has been following their lives since he was a senior in high school.
I feel like I know more about many of these animals out here than some of the people I went to high school with in the same area 20-some years ago. We've been keeping close track on them, on some of them now, for 22 years, following them through multiple generations. We now have several grandmothers out there and their daughters have given birth to offspring as well. So we're following the family lines.
These are streetwise urban dolphins, accustomed to dodging boats and people.
Yeah, there's some moving right down here.
The water is murky. Visibility isn't great. But Randy and colleagues Blair Irvine and Michael Scott have managed to piece together the architecture of dolphin society here in this bay.
Time?
11:41.
Thank you.
They've done it with thousands of hours of survey work,
That's 38.
systematically recording every dolphin sighting.
That's 36, so it's the male pair I was talking about before. Location is Quick Point.
That's right. Quick point.
Slow travel.
Slow travel over shallows.
Yes.
How old are these guys, Randy?
They're in their late teens. They're about a year apart in age. We've known 36 since 1975, and 38 we first identified in 1980. They're formed a very tight bond.
Randy knows 150 animals by sight. But to be sure, every sighting is photographed, so the ID can be verified later.
See how distinctive the fin is on 38? He's got a cut-off tip and then two low notches.
The dorsal fins are the most reliable way of telling one dolphin from another.
36 is a much more rounded fin, a pointier fin on top of
coming
the
up
straight
right
area
here.
foot. It's 38, 36.
Just about every dolphin encountered in the past 20 years has been cataloged. More than 1,200 altogether from 120 miles of coastal waters between Tampa and Fort Myers.
I think it's this one. Yeah. There's two of them in here.
Pictures from each group sighting are compared with the ones on file to confirm which dolphins were seen. Over the years, thousands of repeat sightings have been sorted through to reveal the patterns of association. But dorsal fins alone don't provide enough information for more than a bare outline of dolphin society. To make sense of the data, they need to know the sex, age, and family relationships of the animals.
These two are the same.
And the only way to do that is with a hands-on examination.
Catcher, Fandango, the two that we have at about 5 o'clock to Fandango are good ones.
They're right between me and you, right?
Roger that.
Larry Fulford is a commercial fisherman. But once or twice a year, he works for Randy Wells as a dolphin catcher. Together, they followed a pair of animals into shallow water.
RV, Fandango.
To capture them safely will take perfect timing.
Be ready, Jay.
See him there?
Yeah, I see him.
At full speed, Larry drops a 1,500-foot curtain of net in a big circle around the animals. Meanwhile, the rest of the team moves in. Biologists, veterinarians, dolphin handlers, and a small army of volunteers. When it's all over, they've got a corral in the bay with the dolphins inside. The plan is to spend the next hour learning as much as possible about these animals, and then let them go. They try to avoid handling very young or very old dolphins, but occasionally one is caught by mistake. This time, they're after a single female in her 20s, but they've also gotten a mother and her year-old calf. They manage to catch the mother and baby and release them. But when the single female sees them leave, she decides to do the same. It seems odd, considering their well-known leaping ability, but this is one of the few times in hundreds of captures that a dolphin has gone over the net.
The fact that they don't leap over the net is very much a surprise to us. I'm not quite sure I understand why. It may be that they don't get a clear view of what's on the other side of the net, what they might be leaping into if they did go over the net, but it is a very, very rare occurrence.
The next capture is more typical. The dolphins are docile and cooperative, apparently confident that nothing bad is going to happen.
Stretcher.
It's kind of deep over here.
All marine mammals are protected from unnecessary contact with humans by federal law. But this project is considered so beneficial to the dolphins themselves that a special permit is granted for the work. After 22 years, these researchers are as much concerned with conservation as they are with dolphin society.
The work that we're doing has some pretty obvious conservation benefits. With the large-scale die-offs of bottlenose dolphins in different coastlines around the U.S. and other dolphins around the world, and with the impacts of human activities in the Sarasota Bay Area, it's become of great importance to learn what the health status is of the animals in the Sarasota Bay Area, to learn what kinds of contaminant loads they are carrying and how those are changing over time, and then look at how improvements in the environment relate to changes in the lives of the dolphins.
Each animal gets a complete checkup on the lab boat.
Don't touch it, sweetie.
Over the past decade, most of the dolphins in Sarasota Bay have been examined at least once, so their sexes are already known. The ages of animals born before the study began have been learned by examining their teeth. The oldest are in their 40s and 50s.
Okay.
This one is a 10-year-old male. Randy has known him since he was born. This is a chance to find out how he's progressing through his life, check his health, and look for possible signs of trouble.
Keep the head weighted down.
Throughout the process, a suction cup microphone records his whistles.
27.5, left over right.
Blood samples are checked for contaminants like pesticides and heavy metals. They're also used for genetic testing to see who his father is and how the family lines are connected. Those who've been through it all before, like this 38-year-old male, are very patient with the process.
Umbilicus, 119.
But this 3-year-old doesn't like the doctor any more than most babies do. Dolphins waiting in the corral are tended by volunteers. While they wait, their whistles are recorded by Layla Saig from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. Dolphins begin whistling at birth and soon develop their own unique signature whistles. Researchers suspect that these signatures play a key role in dolphin communication. They may use them like names to keep track of each other in a murky underwater world. This experiment is designed to see whether one animal can actually identify the whistle of another. The white strings form a visual grid over the dolphin, so its movements can be measured later on videotape.
Everybody just keep quiet, please.
Through an underwater speaker, Layla plays back the signature of a dolphin known to be a close associate of the one in the corral. She alternates it with the signature of another dolphin, not as close, but from the same community. Analyzing the tapes later, she finds that the dolphin reacts more strongly to the sound of her friend, evidence that she recognizes that individual. There have also been reports of dolphins using each other's whistles. If it turns out that they communicate with each other by name, they would be the only animals other than humans that do.
There are a couple of drinks on the right. 3, 2, 1.
Bye-bye.
Nice job, group.
A decade of capture and release work has filled in the background of almost every dolphin in the bay. And within the data is a picture of how dolphin society is organized. Just about 100 dolphins live in the bay. A stable resident community moving around a home range of 75 square miles. Females have calves from their early teens until well into their 40s. Bands of related females swim together, feeding, socializing, even babysitting for each other. Sharks are a serious threat. 20% of the baby dolphins don't survive their first year. Protecting the young is probably a strong motive for cooperation among mothers. After 3 to 6 years, young dolphins leave their mothers and swim with other adolescents until sexual maturity. Then, females return to their mothers' groups and begin raising babies. Males come and go, often bonding in tight pairs that are inseparable for years, perhaps for life. Within the community, individuals form small, constantly changing groups, joining, splitting up, rejoining in different combinations. Very few animal species have this kind of social organization, but one that does is the chimpanzee. So here is something that the animals with the largest brains share in common. Long lives, stable communities, and fluid social groups.
We don't always stop to think about the fact that most mammals are not very social. But real complex sociality, where individuals live all of their lives together in face-to-face groups, that's a very rare phenomenon. Obviously, humans do it. Chimpanzees, many of the primates do it, and dolphins do it.
The social patterns may have to do with food. Wild chimps often feed on fruit trees, and dolphins feed on schooling fish, both widely scattered sources. Small foraging parties are more efficient than large herds and safer than going alone. But small groups also lead to close encounters between individuals. And this is where the mind of a social animal is revealed.
If you go back 30 years or so, when I started in the business, if you described an animal, any animal of the species would do for the whole species. And now we realize that these complex species like chimpanzees and dolphins, the individuals have individual personality, and that these interweave in their lives in complex ways. Just as we would never think of studying humans without taking the individual into account, the same is true of these other complex species. You must know individual histories to really get an account of how these animals are behaving.
A little bit shallow, if you wouldn't mind. She can get right in there if she wants to. If she doesn't, the further you go out, the further she will go out. All you'll do is end up getting your knickers wet, isn't that right?
Perhaps the best place ever found to observe the private lives of dolphins is Monkey Maya.
4 feeding dolphins at least, which will be spread along a little
The work begun 10 years ago by Richard Connor and Rachel Smoker has provided a close-up look at what goes on between individuals. A team of researchers works out of a trailer on the Monkey Maya campground, dividing their time between field work and analysis back in the States. Andrew Richards is doing his doctoral thesis on the social lives of female dolphins. Rachel Smoker is doing hers on communication. Janet Mann studies mothers and babies. And Richard Connor works on the males. Together, they've logged thousands of research hours. On a calm day, Shark Bay becomes a natural aquarium, and the researchers have an intimate view of dolphin life.
They're wild, but they're so habituated to our boat that we can follow them for up to 10 hours at a time, staying within 10 meters of them. And it appears that they just ignore us. They just go about their business, socializing with each other, feeding, whatever they're going to do, and we can just watch.
That was a good example of baby position, what we call baby position, when the baby rests underneath the mom, travels along with her. And
Janet Mann is a biopsychologist interested in the bond between mothers and infants. She collaborates with anthropologist Barbara Smuts and has done similar work on humans and other primates. One thing that all large-brained species share in common is a long, dependent childhood. No one has ever observed a dolphin birth in the wild, but many have been seen in captivity. Dolphin babies are physically precocious. They have to swim from the moment of birth, but they remain dependent on the mother for up to 6 years. The main business of childhood is learning the skills needed to survive as an adult. A long childhood means there's a lot to learn.
yeah, we're following Yoda. She's a new baby this year. And she's pretty independent. She's been going well over 100 meters from her mom.
Yoda will be nursing full-time for at least another year or two, but she's already practicing the hunting skills she'll need as a fish eater.
She's snacking on some tiny fish, little garfish. Okay. There you go. She just snapped at one. Oh, no, don't lose it on the boat.
Yoda is one of 25 babies that Janet studies. Some of them leave their mothers frequently, going off for hours at a time.
And at 13, 14, I see her mom do a pinochle.
One thing Janet would like to know is how they find each other after a separation.
6, I think, 6 or 7 at 03.
Today, she's following Yoda, while Rachel stays with Yan, the mother.
that's good.
Rachel plans to record any whistles the two may exchange while getting back together.
I was going to stop listening. There he is. Can you hear that?
It's Yoda's signature whistle.
So I can see Yoda. Yoda's beelining towards us. Here's Yan. She's about 15 meters from us. Here's Yoda right behind us, still beelining towards Yan. So those whistles were getting louder and louder as Yoda was approaching.
It appears that they use their signature whistles to find each other. But why do these vulnerable babies leave their mothers in the first place?
If a baby leaves the mother, it's probably under much higher risk of predation or getting stranded or lost from the mother, and might be very difficult to find her, which is death to an infant if it can't find its mother. Why do they have to do it? That's a puzzle.
There must be a big benefit to the baby in return for this risk. Practice time hunting is part of it, but there's something even more important going on. Janet has found that babies spend much of the time away from their mothers socializing with other dolphins.
They're keeping very tight around Puck.
Today, she's following Cookie, a 3-year-old male. He's been away from his mother all morning playing with his sister Puck. They've been joined by Rabble, another 3-year-old male, on leave from his mother. Rabble and Cookie are frequent companions.
Puck is Cookie's big sister. She's about 10 years older than he is. They're very tight. They engage in a lot of social, sexual behavior together. Now there's starting to be some active petting. Puck, who's female, it's very common for her to go belly up under males and do this kind of rub along the male's pec fin. He's jerking a little bit, but she's doing most of the active movement. And now Rabble's come over and joined the two of them. They're all very tight together again. That's for 1325, also group comp. 2216, both males behind her. They come up, Puck goes on side. That's all right.
Now the play turns more sexual as Cookie and Rabble begin imitating adult courtship behavior.
And simultaneous sort of goose on Puck's peduncle, 2230. They're all in contact for the nearest neighbor. See, both males have erections, and they're both poking into her, trying to poke into her genital area, but she goes on side. Cookie has quite an erection. And Puck goes on side, Cookie pushes up underneath. Now she goes, Puck goes belly up, and Cookie rubs his penis alongside her peduncle. Again, rubs up against her again. Looks like he's sort of attempting a mount, but Puck's not quite letting him do that. She goes on side, 1847. He's trying what he can.
The young males are practicing social and sexual skills they'll need as adults. Males in particular seem to need a lot of practice.
Does a spy hop.
Still, it is just play, and the rules of the game can change quickly.
Rabble's riding in baby position with Puck. A minute ago, he was doing the sexual stuff with Puck. Now he's acting like her infant. But Rabble and Puck are not related as far as we know. This is really weird. Look, he's trying to nurse. Like he's sticking his rostrum to the mammary slit. This is just amazing. Puck lost her baby about 6 weeks ago. I mean, it's possible that she would still have a little bit of milk, but it seems unlikely. Anyway, Rabble is clearly trying to nurse him, or he's done it several times. I don't know if he's getting anything.
Rabble seems ready to be a baby again, and soon leaves to find his own mother. Cookie and Puck will also part ways.
It looks like they're splitting up. Cookie's heading to the south, and looks like she's going more to the north.
As the day goes on, Cookie moves from one social encounter to another.
Slow down. That's Joy. This is Dagwood, a young male, and Cookie.
Cookie's life is full of individual relationships, nurtured and maintained by physical contact. This is how babies come to know the members of their community and learn the conventions of social life. Naturally, independent babies gain more experience than the ones who stay closer to mom, but they are also at greater risk. The long-range goal is to see if the more adventurous babies become the more successful adults, and that will take a lifetime.
Dolphins live as long as we do. If I started when I was in the crib studying these babies, then I could follow them through their lifetime, and then I'd be a professor emeritus by the time I finished.
Even so, Janet plans to keep track of Cookie, Rabble, and the others as long as possible. And that could be 30 or 40 years. Answers come slowly. Analysis can take weeks for every hour of data from the field. But it's already clear that young dolphins need a lot of education to prepare for the complex world of adults. Like the male dolphins in Sarasota Bay, the males of Shark Bay are almost always seen in tight pairs or triplets. Richard Connor has spent more than 1,000 hours in the field, watching these partnerships in action.
And one of the most striking things in following the males was their synchronous behavior. You just see them often surface in just exact, precise synchrony, and you'd see them perform displays around females that were like anything you've seen dolphins trained to do in captivity, you know, leaping out in opposite directions or crossing in midair. Beautiful synchronous underwater ballets around the female, amazing. And we think it could be two things, sort of signaling to each other that we're very tight, or perhaps a message to other dolphins that we're very tight and you have to watch out for us.
Richard noticed that male pairs would often come into the beach with single females. If the female tried to get away, they'd chase her down, sometimes biting and snapping. The males would become very synchronous in their movements and displays, as if to intimidate or impress the female. He often saw the same thing offshore, sometimes involving more than one female and more than one male coalition.
That's interesting. That's the two females who are being herded. They're side by side and surfacing synchronously there. And all the males of the two different coalitions right behind.
These episodes of herding might last from several minutes to several weeks. Richard thinks that it's a part of dolphin courtship.
Basically, we believe that herding is a strategy to monopolize the females, to prevent the female from having access to other males and other males from having access to the females. We think that by herding females, males are increasing the chance that they'll be the father of the offspring.
The females have their own agenda. Andrew Richards has seen them help each other escape from male harassment. And they may have some choice in their mating partners. But female strategies are less obvious than the males, and it will take more time to learn how they work.
Females may prefer one male over another. Or even within the herding context itself, it may be that females will try to escape harder from one alliance of males than from another alliance of males. And we certainly see that outside of the herding context, certain males and females appear to have special friendly relationships, which indicate to us that there certainly are other kinds of relationships and other kinds of mating strategies. For example, the old female holyfin who comes into the beach and takes fish, we often see her off with a couple old males slashing crinkles, and they'll be petting with holyfin, and even when she's pregnant, even at a time when she couldn't possibly conceive. And why would they bother except that they have another kind of relationship?
Still, there is a dark side to dolphin sexual politics that seems out of step with their popular image.
A lot of people have had sort of a false notion about what dolphins are really like. I mean, dolphins can be wonderful and friendly and a lot of good things, but like any complex mammal or any not very complex mammal, they have another side to them. They can be aggressive and nasty, just like we can.
Sometimes male aggression has an almost ritual quality. In this case, a male named Patches is ganged up on by his own partners and another coalition. The sound is picked up by an underwater microphone. There's no way of knowing what Patches did to provoke this abuse. But he disappeared from the bay and was never seen again. Aggressive encounters take a toll on the males. They don't live as long as females, and the older they get, the more battle scars they have. Disputes sometimes arise between coalition partners. Longtime allies Snubby and BB had been getting along fine until they were joined by 6 other males. Then, for some reason, they begin having a tiff. It's mostly noise at first. But eventually, their tiff erupts into a fight. It doesn't last long. An hour later, they'll be friends again.
It typifies what kind of a complex society they live in and how context-dependent their interactions are. How you're getting along with somebody depends on what you're doing and also who you're with. Like, I might get along fine with another individual as long as we're alone, but if somebody else shows up who likes me and I like them but hates this other individual I'm with, then I might turn on them. That's what goes on in the dolphins' lives.
Relations are most complex between coalitions. Richard's been with 2 pairs of males since early this morning. It's Wave and Shave along with Spud and Astro.
There they go again, very tight.
At the moment, they're traveling with a mother and calf.
These are all the males behind the female and calf who just dove, heading between 2 of the males there, and they go shooting down after the female. They seem to be interested in her. It's not hurting yet. These 2 are petting each other.
There's quite a bit of friendly stroking going on among the males, both within the coalitions and between them. It's typical male behavior, a way of promoting friendly relations.
Ooh, that's a little synchronous turn for the males there. That was Spud and Shave.
Again, 1 member from each coalition. An expression of unity between the 2 alliances, at least for the moment. The social landscape is about to change.
Okay, they've joined up with a bunch of other dolphins here. See if I recognize any of them. Could get some rowdy stuff now.
Wave and Shave move toward a female. and suddenly a chase is underway.
Whoa! Maybe seeing a capture attempt. There it goes. Chasing over here. There they go, porpoising.
In a few seconds, they're nearly out of sight. And by the time we catch up, it's all over.
Okay, we have, I believe, a capture attempt here. There was a long chase, and these males getting excited. I think the individual snagging there is the one they probably captured. It's like Jasmine. Wave and shave around the female they've just apparently captured.
Captures like this are the way herding usually begins. Wave and shave seem to have Jasmine under control.
Now some other males looks like males coming in to join this group.
It's Astro and Spud, the coalition Wave and Shave had been so friendly with earlier in the day. But things are different now.
Pretty excited socializing going on down there. Some synchronous stuff from head to head. These two males right here, head to head fight. A tiff between these two males. They're head to head. Oh, this is an interesting aggression between these two. They're lined up head to head, jawing at each other. And there's two more. They're growling. There's two tiffs going on here at once. I've never seen two tiffs right next to each other like that, head to head, aggression.
Then, as quickly as it began, the tiff is over, and the two coalitions are friendly again.
Look at these guys. They're so tight together. Look at that. They're touching pecks. Look at this. Petting. Look at this. Almost synchronous petting against the snout of the one in the middle there. That was a Wave in the center and Shave and would be Astro on the other side. Often after an aggressive interaction, you might see dolphins pet each other, and you get the sense that they're making up almost, and that's what we might have been seeing there.
The on-again, off-again friendliness between alliances is something that puzzled Richard in the first years of research.
We had been seeing that each alliance had one or two other alliances that they spent a lot of time with. And we knew something had to be going on there, because if alliances were simply herding females and competing for access to females, you'd think, well, why would they ever be friendly to each other? Their relationships should be exclusively hostile. So something else must be going on.
One day in 1987, he found out what it was. He'd been on the beach watching a male coalition herding a female.
Another alliance came in and approached very close but didn't do anything. You know, we thought, this is strange. And then they turned and left, and about a mile offshore, we found them later. They had joined up with another alliance. Then they came into the beach, and they attacked and took the female. And there they go, out northwest.
The kidnappers took off across the bay, with the coalition from the beach in hot pursuit.
Andrew, they got Holyfin. They went in there and stole her. This is like science fiction.
It was the first time Richard had seen two coalitions join forces to overpower a third. On another day, he saw a similar situation escalate into a virtual war involving two super coalitions. The chase and battles lasted an hour and a half.
Watch out, neutral. Wow.
This explained why rival coalitions aren't exclusively hostile to each other. It's just good politics.
When you talk about political behavior in animals, you're talking about the same thing you're talking about in humans. You're talking about conflicts of interest. And in animal societies, individuals need to cooperate together sometimes, but they're also in reproductive competition with each other.
The playoff between competition and cooperation seems to have driven dolphins and a few other animal species into political life.
In the mammals in general, males typically are just selfish individuals. What's rare in the animal kingdom is to find any instance in which males can bury their selfish impulses long enough to form coalitions with each other. You only find it in chimpanzees, in humans, hunting dogs, and dolphins, and that seems to be it. Now, the advantage to the males, if they can overcome that innate male selfishness and form a coalition, is that a coalition of males can always dominate an area or or get what they want over an individual male. So once a species starts down that road, male coalitions tend to be more and more important, and there's more and more selection for the kind of intelligence that allows the formation of more and more complex coalitions. This is what we've seen happen in humans, we've seen it in chimpanzees, and now we're finding it in dolphins.
Long lives, complex relations, social sex and friendly physical contact, making up after fights, years of parental care invested in the young, political intrigue. These are the hallmarks of social life among the large-brained mammals. It's a life that seems to demand intelligence, memory, communication, mental flexibility. All those cognitive skills can be seen as tools for manipulating the social environment. And if life favors a good social manipulator, this may help to explain why big brains evolve in the first place.
Very large brains help individuals model their external world. And one thing an individual might need to model is the distribution of food, for instance. But an idea that's had a lot of attention lately is that individuals might be modeling their social world.
The Shark Bay dolphins appear to have adapted their intelligence to another, quite unexpected form of manipulation.
Well, in 1982, we had a fisherman who was telling us that he was seeing dolphins out in this area with a funny growth on the end of their nose. Of course, we didn't know what to make of that at the time. And it turned out later we found these dolphins out here carrying sponges on their rostra, very much wearing it like a glove over their beaks. We followed these animals for many hours at a time, 7 or 8 hours straight. And it seems clear that they must be foraging, using the sponge in some manner to help them acquire fish. Of course, there are other possibilities, and we'll never be sure until we actually see what they're doing with it. And it's deep, murky water, so we'll just have to get lucky one day, I suppose.
Meanwhile, everyone is keeping an eye on Holyfin, who is nearing the end of her year-long pregnancy.
Oh, look at the size of it.
Stay here. They're going to come back this way. Feet goes down, 55.
Finally, Janet finds her swimming toward the beach one morning with her adult daughter, grandson, and a newborn baby at her side.
We have Nikki, Rabble, Holyfin, and Nova. And we don't know what sex Nova is yet. And she was probably born early last night.
Like any proud mother, she can't resist showing off her new baby. It's a risky world out there. Many babies don't make it beyond their first year. But for now, her arrival is nothing but good news. And a reminder of what the sex and politics in dolphin life is really all about. Long-lived animals require long study. The researchers in Sarasota and Monkey Maya hope to spend their lives doing it. If they succeed, their work may help us understand all social animals a little better. including ourselves.
Funding for NOVA is provided by Lockheed, America's aerospace company, supporting math, science, and engineering education for national technology leadership. And Johnson & Johnson, the signature recognized around the world for commitment to quality healthcare products for the entire family. Major funding for NOVA is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the financial support of viewers like you. For a transcript of this program, send $5 to this address or call 1-303-831-9000.
This is PBS.